2. There we go. Good morning, everybody. Happy May 10th. Welcome to Morning Coffee Review. How's it going today, Michael?
It's going good. We have a nice, beautiful, sunny day today in Arizona. And today we are going to continue onward with our Blooming into review, kind of a spring edition, summer edition, as we go and talk about the kind of beginning ends of review and the process of how we can use it or what we can use it for, I guess would be the right time.
Exactly. And even though we've done similar beginner friendly things, it's always refreshing to go back and take a look at some of those things, because even last week when we did part 1, there's all these little things that maybe we overlooked and maybe we can still enhance what we know already. So I believe where we left off last week is we had barely even started touching the markups list. We had made some markups. We had changed some colors. We didn't set anything at default, and we didn't save anything to the tool chest. Does that sound right?
No, we didn't. We didn't set anything to default either. No, I feel like it was just a rerun because I had a same conversation with the client about setting things to default, but we'll go through and talk about creating custom markups, creating custom tool sets. Then from there, we'll probably hit the markups lists, and we'll just set aside Studio just because it's probably going to be a benefit to set aside Studio because of the near future.
Oh, those little future teasers. I bet we'll get more than one in today.
I still haven't updated.
What?
You can all yell at me. It's fine.
Okay.
Let's go to and talk about markups, because then we'll hit the markups list. We'll talk about tool sets, tool chests, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, we won't get into Studio. I think we'll
bucket that till
review Ultra Mega Super comes out. Ultra Mega. Okay, perfect.
It's still going to be here.
Yeah,
but
for some people.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
there we go. That was a good one. Okay, so let's move forward. I'm going to open up a set. Now, when I go into here, I have things on this PDF, which is unfortunate. Forms. Thank you. So if you ever need to go through and find, if someone signs, if you have a signature location and somebody signs something, you can always open up the forms panel. It's not, I always confuse myself too, by the way. I always go to signatures. I'm like, I'm going to see it here, but that's to sign the document. But you can always find the signature fields here if you wanted to as well, and delete them. And delete this. Let me make sure there's no markups on this PDF set. I will save this over. I'm cleaning up this PDF because I've always messed it up and I never got mad. I changed it. Okay, so what are the markups that we can go through and use in review? So to start out, typical workflow for those folks that are new or using an older version. And older version too for certain types of leaders, but are using a different type of software solution. The typical workflow for something may be going through and making a markup of a text box and then saying we'll just do RFI for this one. And then from here, what we go through and do is make an arrow to a new location of something as we go and look and mark up our PDF set, right? We don't need to do that with review. If we do make a text box, you can always right click and add a leader. Depending on what version you're in, though, you may, when you right click and add a second leader, only be able to add that leader from the leader location. You won't be able to go on any side of this. Now, I think this was review 19, if I'm correct, Jason. I think they added this update where you can go from any side. It was like a point addition. You can look at the release notes for if you ever want to go through and look and see what version of update that was, but I'm pretty sure it was somewhere in 19. Where it went from going here to over here. The other way to do this also is to hover over the node, holding shift. If I left click on the node, it will add a secondary one, adding it from any side as well. Now it looks like I'm getting a Q&A question.
Review 20.
Review 20. Okay. So is review 20 even earlier or later than that? So now we can go through and talk about also making a call out. So instead of going through making a text box, then adding a leader, there's actually a command that allows you to go through and make a call out. It would be Q for the hotkey. That automatically gives you that call out header and your arrow associated to it. So then you can go through and place this. I'll just do cap lock. And by the way, there's spell check for all of us folks. And I always do, yeah, I always do Alt Z, and I quickly do this, but to resize your text box, there's the command here, or Alt Z is the hotkey for it. Or since I always have mine, I wish, not that I wish, because I love instructing and doing demos, but I wish I could set that as a default preference. You can, for those folks that want it to always happen, auto size, text box, and call outs for markups. You can always have that happen versus having to set it.
All right. I never, ever knew about the auto size box on the status bar. You got me already. 6 minutes in.
Oh,
I never
okay.
that button that you just showed. Yeah. I've never seen that before. Please tell me I'm not the only one.
Yeah, so for your dynamic options bar, you have this one, and then you have Alt Z plus review. I would prefer this. We had an internal note too from somebody that was asking about reusing the markups, and we'll talk about that too. It's right now, reuse your tools. So whatever command you were in, it doesn't exit out once you're done, right? So if I go and highlight something, bad example, if I go and make this text, this highlight stays in, right? I'm out and I'm not able to make another one. So this will let you reuse them under preferences, reuse your latest markup. Next one is the revision cloud. Now, typically what folks will do is I'll do the long way first, right? Revision cloud, they're coming from another software. They'll have some type of markup. And I keep holding shift, but I have cap locks on, and then they'll do an arrow. But we just learned these two ways. You can also do a revision cloud plus for your call out already pre-created with it, or K for the hotkey. So then you have your newly created one here.
It's already built in and ready to go.
Now, the only thing is I'm seeing a lot of folks move away from just in general having comments on the PDFs that are starting to leverage review more. There's really no need for comments to be on the PDF now, because all you have to go through and do is place your revision cloud, double click on that markup and add your comment here, right? We'll just do 203 for this one, because down here in the markups list, which we'll get to, right, you'll have your comments in that data.
So we got a couple questions. What happens if you wanted to do a leader and you already had a text box? Can you add that leader after the fact?
Yep. So this
was a 20.0 option, I believe.
Oh, the add leader from the text. I thought we were okay. Right here. That's right clicking. I thought this was always available. I didn't know that it was an addition for it.
Yeah. And then another question, did they add in the ability in the last release to change the arrowheads? I think the arrowhead, being able to change that, that's been a few releases, honestly. Ta-da. Ooh, another good question here. If you flatten, okay. So Michael was showing the cloud option and then double clicking on it to add a comment that's not visual, right? So that comment, that RFI 203 or whatever you did, only lives in the markups list. If you flatten the document, what happens to that comment? It wouldn't be visible, right? Because the markups list goes away. It's not going to pop up.
The whole point of it is it to become. Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were continuing onward.
No, I think that's a fair point.
But the whole point of flattening is to for the markups to become one with the PDF, right? If you're trying to make sure people don't change your markups when you send them a document, then just set a security behind it. Don't flatten it. Flattening it is really for like a seal, a stamp, those types of things. Because you don't have to flatten your whole PDF, right? With all of the markups. I could go and place my seal with my stamp. You know, and you would never do this, but I am. Right click, and I would flatten just this specific one, right? But then I can go through and move these around.
Another great trick. So David's got a question here. Would be nice to add additional elbow points of that call out. Or didn't we try this before?
Yeah, I agree. We're adding a node is what he's asking. There's no way to do it. You can for other markups. Hey, let me go and add, right, a control point.
Oh, why can't you do it there? That's odd.
It will let me subtract it, but it won't let me add it.
That makes no sense.
But you can do it to this.
Oh, wait.
I think it has to be this.
So you thought.
Because a rectangle, it's just a rectangle.
Oh, you can't be on a control point when you add the next one. So maybe that's what it was. You were too close.
No, it didn't even give me the option. I wonder if it's because I did the square instead of this. Yeah, that's why. It's because I did so for revision clouds, you can left click and hold the left click selection for a rectangle. So it's seen as like that rectangle command up here, right? Which didn't let me add any. Because this is the same thing, right?
And that is exactly one of the points that I wanted to make sure that we covered in this refresher series. The way you treat the left click button when you're placing markups has a difference, right? If you can click and drag, or if you just click one at a time, you'll get different results. So you want to go through that again real quick?
Yeah, so left click, hold, and drag is a rectangle. Left click, release is points. And then enter to finish.
Pretty cool.
Now, with some of these markups too, there are additional modifications, right? So we have our yellow nodes that allow us to drag, move the shape around. Then we have our blue outside nodes, which allow me to scale down or up or rotate. And there's different ones for different
markups.
Thank you. It's early.
Right? Definitely. So Danny's got a question here. When you were adding that comment to that cloud, why are people adding comment to a second box?
Are we saying like the leader to it or the double click?
Can you add some content there, Danny? I'm thinking you meant that one, adding that comment to that second area. So instead of having it
double click.
Yeah.
So why are we adding this to here? I'm assuming that we don't know the full capabilities of review because the comments will live here for someone to address the issue, right? We're saying there's an issue here with our revision cloud, indicating that something needs to be checked and verified or something of that matter. Then down here in the markups list, because what we'll do is we'll go and create, and I'll just quickly create one for you, a summary report and attach it to the back to send to, in this instance, an engineer sending it to a designer. Hey, there's some issue here. Great. What's the issue? RFI 203. Okay, I need to go look at that. But where was this markup made? Click it. Boom, here.
Magical. So yeah, if they don't know about the markups list, well, that's our joy is to show them.
Right? And if they don't, and if they don't know about the markups list, your colleagues just print out a report, right? Because say, check out the report at the back, read it.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. All right. Do, 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 do. David didn't know that it would let you break the square. So cool. David, I'm glad you learned something this morning too. So you created the markups, you created the call out, you did the auto size text box, but they're all still red. Let's say I don't want to see red. What can I do about that?
And there was, I think, was it in this one or a different one? But there was a comment at one point from something I did last week or the week before that folks were going through, or a particular individual was going through in their method of not having this, because maybe they didn't know about the tool chest, right? But their method was, I'm going to always use C for the hotkey or grab cloud, and it's going to look like this each time I place C, because that's what I want it to look like, right? For my clouds. These are my clouds, my new clouds. Now, there is the option to right click, set as default, but that's not the workflow we should use. We should be using our tool chest and saving them into my tools because they're particular to your workflow. Now, if they're company-wide standard or maybe a punch list for custom symbols and stuff like that, you probably want to use a tool set. My tools is convenient because there's hotkeys, which are these numbers associated to your markups that you can press. So if I were to drag this, left click and hold and drag, or right click on the markup on the PDF set and add it to a tool set of my choosing, this particular one is my tools. But now what I'm really trying to show you is if I press 13, there we are, versus clicking here and ruining my defaulted settings.
So couple things. We've got to talk about recent tools, because you can see, if you look in that history, you're seeing all these clouds and that box that he made and some of those other comments. Recent tools, it looks like it's in your tool chest, but don't trust it, because next time you close review, they're all going away, right? So if you do something that you really like, that's where you want to make sure you do click and drag into my tools or another tool chest so that you can reuse that.
Yes. So these panels can be dragged out to a second screen if you want more real estate. So you can left click, hold, and drag this out. You'll have it on a second screen. Oops. There we go. Remember, we talked about profiles at the beginning of this session, and you're able to save these in the same area of wherever you're docking them out. I'm going to move this back to the top here. Ooh. If you're one of those folks that doesn't like dragging, you can always right click on any one that you've dragged out and attach to left, right, or bottom. But okay, so let's talk about the tool chest. Unless anyone has any questions, particular types of markups. We talked about the arc last time and holding Alt and being able to place a three-pointed arc. But again, at any point, feel free to ask any questions if you have any particular ones around markups. There is the dimension one. The one thing I will show with the dimension before we move onward to the tool chest, if I can snap to something here, I can say this is me saying what the measurement is. Accurate measurements are from the measurement tool set tool bar. Yeah, I'll just go with that. And then calibrating or setting a scale to your document. But for this one, if you're ever having a dimension issue, this still works with these two, where this is in the way of something. You can always left click, hold, shift over the number, not over the node, over the number, holding shift, left click, hold, and drag, and you get a leader.
Not always intuitive, but possible.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Before you go to what you were going to go to, we got a good question here from Jill about what you did earlier on the markup summary. So if you still have that markup summary fired up, you clicked on one of those comments and it took you to that location in the PDF. It will not always do this by default, Jill. So there was a setting when you create the markup summary to append and hyperlink. So right there, when you see export as, if that box is checked, it will hyperlink to the current PDF.
Yep.
Very cool trick. It's not set by default, right? So whenever you do your summary, you will have to manually click on that box. All right, you were going to go in and do more things with the tool chest.
Okay. So let's explain the tool chest. It's like an Allen key set. It's my analogy. Jason's heard it so many times.
I use the like a tool box in the garage where I got my sockets and my wrenches and my
Oh, you do
screwdrivers in my junk drawer.
sockets.
Or I say kitchen cabinet. So I got my spatulas and my silverware and my everything else.
Yeah, way more than me. I just use the Allen key. So let's say we have a bolt for a particular job that requires an Allen key. Now we have a toolbox that we hopefully store our Allen keys in. In this instance, we don't have to worry about misplacing them. I guess we do if we didn't place them in the right profile, but not talking about that yet. We have our toolbox, which is referenced to a tool chest in Revu. Then we have our tool sets, which are like an Allen key set. And in the Allen key set, you have a specific Allen key for the specific bolt that you're trying to either tighten or loosen. Now, within Revu, you have your tool chest with tool sets with markups in there for the particular job and use that you're going to use them for. Now, there are a couple different tool sets pre-loaded in. First and foremost is this recent location. Now, recent tools are always saving any markups that you are making on any PDF set you have open in Revu. Now, what it is also doing, it's for the current, session of Revu only. So if I go up and not exit out of the PDF, but exit out of Revu, these will all go away. It is saving our markups. And how it saves these in the recent tools are the indicators you'll see is a command and then the properties of the command that you've moved or made. This is called properties mode. It's copying the same properties that you've added to your markups, right? So any of the dynamic options bar here for the properties that you want to go through and do, it's saving these to that markup here so that I can reuse it later on, right? But what it's also doing, if I double click on these or right click and say drawing mode, it will change it to the exact copy of the same one of the first iteration of what was there placed. So there's two different modes, drawing mode and properties mode.
And now this will go back years, right? So if you've created this tool set years ago and you're like, where did this come from? You can switch it between the modes and be like, oh yeah.
Yeah. So you can switch these in any, if they've been moved, anything like that, you're able to go through and switch them. Now to add them to a tool set that you've created or my tools, which stays in all profiles, you left click, hold and drag and move it up to that location. Now, the great thing about my tools is these numbers, and the numbers are associated to your hotkeys. So if I press 14 on my number pad, I now have that same markup that I was trying to place before. Okay. Now that that's been placed, what else? How do we go through and create one? If you go to tool chest up here, you can go to manage tools. So the tool chest drop down, manage tool sets. From in here, you'll see all of your available tool sets that have been added to this current profile, because tool sets are saved to the active profile by default. So whatever profile you're in, if you missed last week, go back and watch last week so you can learn what profiles are. But I'm currently in Revu Advanced, going back up to here, manage tool sets. These are all in the Revu Advanced profile. Now, these two are in all because it says show in all profiles. So if I go and add one, this is where you create your new profile, you title it, maybe it's an existing one. You have your options. Is it going to display, meaning is it going to show up here immediately, or are you going to go and check it and say show now or not? Show in all profiles. So is it going to go through and be active in all of profiles, just like these two are? You're not able to be granular and say, I want it in this one, this one, this one, not this one. It's all or your active profile that you're currently in. Relative path, is it going to search for the folder name or the file name?
So I've been rethinking about my strategy for these, because normally I don't say show in all profiles, but as I jump around my different profiles from fields issues to quantity takeoff or whatever, I still have some callouts that I like to see. I still have the colors that I like to see. So I have been creating my own JSON toolbox and having it be in all profiles. That way it's like my little comfort zone. So no matter what profile I'm in, I'm going to have my little collection of tools. And that's a good reason to use that, show in all profiles option.
Yeah. Now, again, you can go through and add one. I'm just going to enable one that we've done in the past, MCR. The great thing about this too is on the right of your tool sets, you're able to click the gear symbol. Things can happen. It can be in detail mode, which is what you see here, this tabbed out area. It's going to come up with a better term, but okay. So this tabbed out data-driven information of what your markup contains, or symbol mode, which is just a symbol of your markup that you made before. Now, if you're one of those folks that are having trouble seeing like myself, you have the triangle down here, smaller, larger. It's just a drawbar. When you move it, it becomes smaller. When you go back to the right, it becomes larger. So for those folks that have trouble seeing like myself, I always keep it like this. There's also set to scale. We're not going to cover set to scale. It's more of an advanced item. There's a blog on our website, and I'm pretty sure either Jason or Carrie will be able to go through and add a link to it to set scale.
Oh, are
it's
we
just
racing?
Our resources.
Are you going to make us race? Because I think
and
she's
then
going to
we
beat
have
me every time.
Creating a legend. So creating a legend from here is going to actually create a legend for all of these associated tool sets here. So legend from this point is going to add a legend that will, anytime the markups from that tool set have been placed, add it to that legend specifically. If you do legends from your markups list to whatever one you right click select, say add to that legend. Saving is if this was in a local location, you would, or anything updated, you would hit save. Pin, which we talked about last week, we're going to pin it to one of our toolbars. Okay. That is the tool chest. Do you have anything to add to this, Jason?
No, I think you got it.
All questions answered.
You got my tools. We talked about the recent tools. We talked about drawing mode, property mode, creating your own. Do the little slider bar thing down at the bottom again, just because it's fun. Whee! And let's see. Yeah, pretty good.
Okay. Any tips from more advanced folks out in the community that you would recommend to new users that are tuning in?
These can be shared on the server. They can be easily exported. They can be easily imported and shared across your organization. These can even be downloaded from the Bluebeam website. And I'll put that link here in the chat just a second.
David said multiple tool boxes to keep things organized. I would also add on to that kicker would be layers. So any type of custom markups that you made, you can always right click and add them to a layer. That way you can control an entire tool set, maybe by a layer, or some markups by layers.
Mm-hmm. Did you get quiet?
I was reading this.
Okay.
But thank you. Yeah, it was, I froze. The written portion, yes, you can always print out a report, I'm assuming is what she was saying. Learn what each measurement markup gives you. So each measurement markup gives you, I'm assuming, different options. Yeah. Yeah. As we're seeing here, yes, the report. Thanks, Kristen. Doug, and the length is actually perimeter. Yep. Try the cloud plus, add points again. Seems to be working for me. So yeah, the measurements features, there's a lot of embedded data for these, and they don't live in the properties panel. So for instance, if I were to use area, oh, come on. You're not going to go to the properties panel and find the data here. You're going to actually have to click open the measurements panel. I guess you could do this in the markups list, but in the measurements panel, you can add like depth to this, a slope. The other one would be your poly lengths for these. What this also does add a rise and drop, which is just an overall dimension added to the total length of this. So if you were accounting for rise and drop of run locations for maybe PVC pipe, you knew the overall rise and drop of what was going to take place. You just add the overall to here, and it adds it to the overall of the poly length here.
Magical. How
about showing how you can set what is displayed? Yes. So showing what is displayed for measurements too. If you go to properties, that's what's going to control what's displayed here for like this poly length. It's show segment values. So segmented for this instance, which is your segments of length. You can not show them or show them. Then you also have show caption, which is this. What's going to show with the caption label, length, depth, area, or don't show caption. Typically, I'll do this because all I need is the representation of this data, right, on my PDF, because everything lives where, Jason?
It lives in the markups list.
So it's always, land. Yes, lives down here.
There's no way to, well, I mean, I take it back. There is no way to do something in a PDF and not have it be tracked in the markups list unless you flatten it. Mm-hmm. So you can undo it, but you can't prevent it in the first place.
Can you send a toolbar video link?
Ooh. We've done toolbars a couple times.
I just did the toolbar at the beginning of last session.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So go check last week's from May 3rd. Blooming into Bluebeam, I think might be the title, part 1.
You can edit the legend columns and properties. Yes. So let's go and add its legend here. Beth was here, MCR and MCR logo. What we'll do is we'll add a legend. So create a legend here for those ones. And it looks like you modified this to show only certain things. So we'll go through here.
What? Me? No.
And it's only saying comments. We will also know the description of these and quantity as well. And these aren't added to there. Why are my legends?
That is quite odd, honestly. All right, we might have to change profiles. Go to interior punch list. That.
I think I'm going to need to close out a review.
I think you might have to close out a review because you are getting unexpected behavior. And whenever that happens, what do we do, everybody? For every computer ever?
It might be, it might also be the PDF because I had a signature on it before. And then I took the signature off. So let me think it's that.
Yeah, that very well could be.
Because I took it off, remember?
Signatures do weird things.
So it wasn't the profile. It was the signature not allotting for those items that were placed. Okay. Good. Figured it out. Troubleshoot. So from here, let me place these back because it should have automatically itemized for the ones that were there, right? That was my whole spiel. That doesn't matter because it's going to count for those ones that were placed. And then as they keep going, right, they're going to go through. So for legends, though, up here in the properties panel, you have title. So what's the title going to be? Show title, font size for it, bold, maybe bold italic. There we go. And then my edit columns. So those are the columns of data that's going to be shown. So I can add a title. So description of what those are, right? Edit the columns. So these are your columns from your markups list that you can go through and see what data you want. Even custom columns, by the way, Can show up for, I broke it. Yeah. Can show up for any data that you want to. And then same thing, show title. The text is all the formatting for that data. The cells. So what are the cells going to show font size wise, alignments, right, center, non-center, left, bold, margins. So if you wanted to have larger margins, you're just customizing the way you want this to look. No, you cannot set this as default. I know that's been asked before. Just be aware that you cannot set this as default.
And is there a way to make a grid, like a spreadsheet looking thing?
There is the outline here. So it could be horizontal or not. You can go through and add what you want there. Where was the grid symbol again? I forget. It's somewhere in here.
Grid lines.
There you go.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, well, grid lines.
Perfect.
I think it's just
That's what I was looking for. Ooh, good question from David. Can you drag that into my tools? Because you'll see in recent tools, even though he placed that legend, it didn't show up.
Hey, you cheated. Hold on.
Totally cheated.
So you can save it. That is new to me.
Oh, there we go. David asked a question. Michael learned something. I learned something. I hope you all learned something too already, and we're not even done yet. All right, let's keep going. This is fun.
No way. Look at that. Yep.
So that's
a good thought.
That's a great one because legends are very common, right? Or they should be common, and getting them repeatable is tricky, right? Because every time you have to go in and get it set up. So if you've got your grid lines turned on, got your everything set up, this is good. I like this.
Yeah, because then you can save it to your tool sets. You don't have to worry about it. And when you're ready to go, drag it on for whatever's been placed. That's smart. Okay. But again, so coming from your tools, but this, you'd still follow the same process if it was outside, right? Because you'd still have to go to where it is in the markups, right click and add it to that legend. But if it's your tool set and you created it from your tool set, it'll itemize per your whatever's been added. If you've added a new one though, I don't know if it will itemize for that one. It does. Cool.
So anything that came from the MCR toolbox is automatically added to the MCR legend because it's pulling from that gear symbol command. Ooh, another good question from David. Can you format paint a legend? I don't use format painting very often in review, honestly.
Can.
Dang, you can.
But it's not formatting everything. It doesn't format your columns.
No, it's only the grid line and colors and font. Well, is that because the comment, if you turn on the columns or the detail for the architect review toolbox? Wonder if that does anything.
No, it's because it doesn't do this check stuff. It's just the properties of visual. It's the same thing when you use Format Painter just in general. It's copying the properties, but not the metadata with it.
Ooh, good question from Steven here. Can you create legends in a session? I know we weren't going to talk about sessions today, but you know, that's what we do. I mean, we've made it a long way today without going down a rabbit hole. So here we go. I want to say you can't. Look at that.
Oh, it's even grayed out. Look at that.
Oh, that's cool. I've never seen that happen before.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to create a toolbox of only the things that don't work.
Hey, but guess what? What do you think, Jason? Do you think we'll be able to later on in the near future?
No.
I think we will.
Ooh. Okay. Stay tuned for Super Ultra Mega in July.
I think we will. Okay.
Future feature add. Go up to help, say, make a suggestion. Ta-da. If you've got ideas of what can make review better, check this out. Usually there's a good reason for folks to be limited in sessions. And if you go back to some of our other session topics, and I think we got one coming up about what is and what does not work, what does and what does not work inside of sessions, it's usually because multiple people are going to be reviewing it at different times, right? And you don't want to be able to add certain things to a drawing that affect the whole drawing if somebody's already completed their review, right? That's not exactly fair.
And modifying it while someone is in it live, right? You can't file lock in a session. So the way to file lock is limiting like document management type stuff. It's like slip sheeting and anything like that. Okay. Moving onward. Markups list, right? I think we're done with this. We learned some good things like this. Legend is new to me.
Ooh, okay. David's got a good one. Please take a moment and show everyone how they can change what is displayed using the measurement tab. Now, we didn't really talk about measurements, but maybe we'll, since we got a little bit of time, let's do some measurements and then we'll go to the markups list. How's that sound?
To show everyone how they can change what is displayed using the measurements tab. Are we saying units?
We don't have any measurements yet.
But is he saying units? Because we just went over some of the things for it, but yes.
Drop down at the bottom of the properties.
Okay, so we talked about this stuff, which was slope, all those data that are driven with it. But are you talking about your precision or maybe a different X and Y? Drop down at the bottom of properties. So of a measurement. Yeah, we talked about this a little earlier, these ones. So you have options of going through and changing, depending on what type of measurement that's placed, such as poly length, which would give you a rise and drop. We talked about that when I placed it in the different segmented values, right? So if I go and select this one, you have option of adding a depth, rise and drop locations. You can add your different options for going through and increments of measurements. Down here, you have align the segment vertically or horizontally, which is still the same that you had in properties for the naming of it. Same thing for your captions, which were still done in your properties too.
Well, does that hit the
I
talking
think
point
so.
you're after? You can have more options than in that caption.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's saying depth, right? If someone added depth wall area, they would show up here. Or you can say nothing, which is what I prefer.
And don't forget for your measurement, your 18-foot jobber right there, there is a units pull down in the new dynamic options bar. Not that one, go to your, that. So that was in 20.2 or 20.1. If you're not on the latest version, you won't see this, but it's incredibly handy if you want to change from inches to feet to millimeters to metric without messing up the scale of the drawing.
Yeah, this doesn't mess up the scale. The scale is still set, so I can make another one that is still going to show as feet and inches. So this is new. It used to be that you had to, if you're not in the newer version, oops. It used to be if you wanted to change this to different units of measurements, you had to change your overall scale to whatever that units was going to be.
That was review 20.2. So March 16th of 2021 is when that feature came out.
Yes. And you had to have what in order to do it?
Active maintenance.
There you go.
If
Okay.
you don't have,
Oh,
sidebar,
sorry.
if you don't have active maintenance, you really want to get that. Now's the time. If you are in charge, if you are this decision maker of your review licenses, now's the time to really start looking at what you're going to do for July. And my recommendation is get active maintenance. There's no longer a penalty for delayed maintenance. So a while ago, if you weren't on active maintenance, you had to pay back years, right? That's no longer the case.
To get you up to the furthest one. That's new to me.
So you'll want to make sure that you're on active maintenance prior to July. And if you have any questions, reach out to us and we can walk you through that process. But active maintenance is what gives you these updates. So when we first started this morning, Michael had a note saying that he was ready to go to 20.2.70. Active maintenance is what makes those updates possible.
Mine's white. Be aware also, if you aren't currently partnered with us here at ATG, you are new and you're maybe you're getting your Autodesk products through us, but you're not getting anything from Bluebeam wise. Feel free to reach out to us. We are platinum partners, as hopefully this little insight of what we do here can tell with Bluebeam. So feel free to shoot your rep. If you don't have a rep, again, there'll be a survey at the end. Let us know. We'll reach out to you. If you have any further questions too at the end, by the way, we will say this again. Put any questions in there. We'd love to shoot you an email real quick and answer your questions and help you all, because that's what we're here to do.
Absolutely.
Anything else to that, Jason?
Nope. Let's get back to the show and stop the sales pitch.
Okay, so let's go. So we are going to talk about the markups list. All of the data lives down in this 3 dotted line or 3 lines. It's called the markups list. When you select it, by default, it's in the lower left corner of all profiles, by the way. When you select it, it'll populate open. You can change the way it is distributing the data in terms of how large your markups panel is with this drawbar. It's right below your navigation bar. You hover over it and it lets you slide it up and down, giving you more real estate of your PDF or of your data. You decide. This is a panel, so it can be left click, held and dragged out, or right clicked and saying detach to left or somewhere else if you wanted to move it. So now when you pop this open, what you're able to do is see all of your data distributed in columns. So any type of metadata that you've associated to markups, you have that option of going through and sorting any of your data by that column, such as right now it's sorting by author. I can tell with a blue indication. And what I can do is I can sort by subject instead. By clicking subject column, it's now sorting my data by the subject of whatever is being listed in here. And I can organize it by ascending or descending order by alphabetical, or I think it's just alphabetical. It's not numerical, right? Okay, so that is the way to go through and sort your data by any column. By the way, you can sort your data. Now, if I wanted to move this around to reorganize the way these columns are distributed of data, all I have to do is left click, hold a column, and you'll see a new little arrow showing you where you're going to be able to dock it next, where it's going to drop. And Matt Lynn, if he's on today, showed us this one. This comes from Excel. If you double click on a, what would you say, end column, it'll
vertical separator.
It'll realign to your comments or data there. Yeah. Cool. Now, hey, Mike, I need more data. Great. So if you go up here to the markups list dropdown, you'll have some options. You'll have columns. These are where your available out of the box columns are for your heart's desire to go through and select which ones you want to show data for. The next one below that is markups. This is huge for folks that didn't know this. If you need to import markups from one PDF to the next, great example is if we're doing cost estimates and we need to update we received a revised document and we need to bring those markups from the other PDF because we just did a ton of quantity takeoffs and we need to bring all of them to one PDF to the next because they just sent us a new revised one. You could do that right here in a matter of seconds. So you don't have to rework. Next one is the capture data. So I didn't show this, but you are able to attach captures by right-clicking on a markup, capture data from camera, from file. This is great when you're doing a punch walkthrough, and we'll talk about that when we do punch walkthroughs. But basically, you can attach images to the markups, right? So you're associating the data. The old way would be doing this, which is placing it on the PDF. But what happens when I do this, Jason?
It's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same because I'm taking up space on my PDF now, right? This one is attaching to the markup. It's indicated that it is part of this. And actually, when I click it, it shows me what I need to see anyways. It also will populate when I do my PDF summaries. But this is a not full-size rendering when I do this. So if I go and look at that now, of that attachment, it will not show the full res of this. It shows me a little snippet, which is great, right? Especially if I'm doing a punch walkthrough, there's an issue report that I need to send to somebody and say, you need to address this because you didn't install this correctly. Please see my punch list. There's an image. Now, if you want to give them the full image of captures right here, that's what this capture summary report is for. Next, going back to our columns, this is also where you can create custom columns. So out of the box, these are your available columns of data that are being able to be shown. Next one is your custom columns where you can go through and create your own column-driven data for whatever your needs are. For instance, I was creating a white paper, so I was doing a cost and total. So if you ever want to go through and create your own, you can. The options for creation are checkmark, choice, date, formula, number, and text. What else?
So Doug's got a question. So you were talking about importing and exporting those markups. Why wouldn't you slip sheet if you got a revision?
You can. If you don't have Extreme, though, you can only slip sheet per,
You can only, yeah, you can one document at a time.
I think it's one document at a time, but it's not really slip sheeting. I don't think you have that option. I think you do. It's slip sheet, but I don't think it's batch slip sheet.
Mm-mm. And the reason that I wouldn't do slip sheet is because I don't trust anybody. Oh yeah, we just changed something on page 3. Chances are there was a change on page 6 too, right?
Yeah.
Bring in the whole document and just verify.
And what Doug's talking about, there is slip sheet. And when you do run a slip sheet, it asks, do you want to bring over your markups from one PDF to the next? The other issue with that is now you get double the count because it still sees your original markup.
We've never done an episode on slip sheets.
I think we have, if I remember.
I'm going to add it to the list anyway.
Okay. I think I also did a quick tip. I'll have to look. Okay. If not, I'm going to do a quick tip on it anyways.
There you go.
Okay, so going back to our markups list, the other option is right here, this lovely little eyeball that has a slash through it. If you don't want to see any markups, you click it, bring them back, everything. You also have the option to search for your data, but what this does do, it also filters out. So if I typed in C and I said cloud, you'll see that it's only showing those subjects or whatever the data matches. It could have been, if my name started with CLO, right? It would still show only those. Whatever falls into the search parameters will stay its normal color. Anything that does not or falls out of those search parameters there will start to filter out with this grayed out look.
So earlier you were placing callouts and you said RFI 101 and 203. Would that work the same way? You could go to your markups list and just find the things that are tied to an RFI?
Yep.
Magical.
Then also is the filter. So I'll clear this out. You'll have the option to go through and filter. So filter search, this is updated, and I don't know what point edition it was.
That was original 20. So when 20.0 came out, this was one of the big features.
Man, I used to remember all those. But okay, so going back into filter, it used to just be filter. You'll get a funnel over one column, and you can only filter it out by one column driven data. Now you're able to filter out by multiple columns. So if I wanted to filter out by, let's say, cloud, and then the color of the clouds I wanted to look for were only blue, I'm only going to see those now. I can also save this. There's a drawbar now that you're able to save this. So you just type in the name and hit check, because whatever's been used for these filters will allow you to save them here. Now I'm going to undo this. Let's quickly talk about reports before we end for the day, because that'll end our blooming into review, right? Would you say so? So you have reports. You have the ability to send out a CSV file. So let's say maybe you're doing an on-screen takeoff with review, and you want to pull the data out to your cost software that hosts all of the data for what things cost at value. You could use measurements in review, export the data out to CSV or XML. You also have PDF summary. Maybe we're doing a punch walkthrough of a property, or maybe we're doing a revision set and we want people to run with statuses, right? These statuses can also control the way things are displayed. We show this a lot, such as, hey, you know, this revision cloud here was made. No, we want this one. And, you know, when somebody finally marked it as completed, because the old way of doing a revised set would be to highlight that I've completed it to verify that it's changed in the doc, right? Or the design set, sorry. So what I would do is I would go through and do this. This is a traditional workflow of digital. Non-digital would have been a red markup, a red pen, and then I go through with the back highlighter and highlight that I've changed it in the set, right? Here, now what you can do is these statuses, I can just double click, review, completed. Then you can go through and create a PDF summary report for this revision set of us revised of things being updated, and anything by default, by the way. But if you set up filters, organize this, or sorted the data in a specific way here, by default, these columns, filter and sort, will already be itemized for what was changed here. Okay. Now, if you want to go through and manually update this, like there's nothing in space because you can see it's empty, total cost, material. I don't care about count for these ones, right? You can go through and say, for this instance of this summary, I want it to print out this way, not following this, what I'm showing in my markups list, okay? Next is filter and sort. Maybe I want to sort. Remember, it's already sorting by subject in ascending because that's what I did here. Clicked on subject. You can change this. You can set up different filters. Then you can go to output. Is it going to be CSV, XML, PDF, or print? You then have the title of this output. I have a template. That's why it comes out with some data on top, which we'll do one without data on top now. The style, flow, or table, thumbnails. So these are the little images of your markups. And then with those images of those markups, the padding is how much of the outside PDF I'm seeing versus the markup itself. So am I just going to see the markup itself, or also part of the exterior part of the markup too? Now, when I'm ready to save this, maybe, or you just hit OK. And that's the append with hyperlink, which we showed earlier, Jason was talking about. Mm-hmm. But if I save this configuration, it saves all three of these tabs. So if I've created a specific export for my workflow that everyone needs to have, or I don't want to have to come back in and recreate this when I do my punch list, when I do my cost estimates, whatever you're doing, you just hit save. You can come back and hit load. These are saved out as .bcf files. I'm not going to hit save. I'm just going to hit OK. And before, remember, it had like ATG's logo and some data. Now it just has the name of what it is because I removed my template, and it shows me where my markups were made.
We did a whole episode about templates and creating, consistent results from that. So definitely worth checking out. We've done some really cool stuff, and that brings us to the bottom of the hour and the end of our Blooming into Bluebeam part 2 session.
We made it.
But we made it. Next week, we've got even forget. We've got a whole list of things going on, but if you have something that you want to see in particular, certainly type it into the chat, put it into the comments. If you're on Zoom, and those watching on YouTube, type it in the comments there too. All that stuff gets back to us, help us create the content that you want to see every day. So, or every week. And even if it can't wait till the week, drop us an email. We'll get to it even quicker. So with that, I want to say thank you to ATG. Thank you to DJ CJ. Thank you to all of you for joining us on this lovely Tuesday morning. Thank you, Michael. As always, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.